Hi, this is Ms. Park, and this video is a lesson on solving linear systems by substitution. Let's start by reviewing what is a linear system. A linear system is having two lines graphed at the same time or happening at the same time. Okay, so this would be what I just drew here is a linear system on a graph. We would be finding the point of intersection, and the point of intersection is the point where both lines have the same value. Okay, so that is solving by graphing means graph both lines on the grid and then read the point of intersection off the grid. But solving linear systems by substitution is an algebraic method when you don't have the graph or when the lines are not easy to graph because the numbers make them hard to read on a graph. So I'll give you an example. Here is a linear system, and we're just going to look at it algebraically. So we're not even going to bother graphing it. Okay, so here's a linear system. So you'll notice that linear system has two equations with two variables. And we learned before how to solve an equation that has one variable, right? So just an x. But in order to solve equations with two variables, we need to have two equations. So that's the linear system. The method of substitution says, okay, we don't know how to solve an equation with two variables, but what we can do is we can see if we can rewrite one of the equations to isolate a variable. So for example, looking at these equations, I can see which term is going to be easy to isolate the variable. I see that the x in equation 1 is easy to isolate because it doesn't have any coefficient in front of it. There's just a 1. And if I can isolate the x and write it in terms of something with y's in it, then I can replace the x in the second equation with something with y's in it, which will give me the second equation having only y's. So let's see how that works. I'm going to rearrange equation 1 to isolate x. Okay, and so it's x minus 4y equals negative 7. If I want x alone, I have to add 4y to both sides. So that's going to get rid of it from the left because it's just going to be 0. And here I'm going to add it to the right. Okay, I've added 4y to both sides, or some people like to think of it as move the 4y to the other side and change the sign. Now what I have a new equation 1 that's written in terms of x equals stuff with y in it. And I can take my new equation 1 and substitute into equation 2. These words that I'm writing are really important because it tells the reader what you're doing. So write things like sub 1 into 2 because that tells the reader will understand your algebra. Okay, so now where I see an x in the second equation, I'm not going to write x, I'm going to replace it with what x is from equation 1. Okay, and so do you see what I did? I'm just going to change the color and highlight for a second. So I rewrote x as being this expression that has y's in it. So in the second equation, I'm replacing the x with that expression. Okay, and so the second equation has this plus 6y equals 14. Right, that's equation 2. And equation 2 now has only y's in it. We know how to solve equations when there's only one variable. So let's distribute that 2. So negative 2 times negative 7 is 14. Negative 2 times positive 4y is negative 8y. And then I have a 6y, and there's another 14. Okay, scroll up. Okay, and so this I have 14 minus 2y equals 14. Negative 2y equals 14 minus 14. Negative 2y equals 0. Okay, and then I want just y alone, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. Well, 0 divided by anything is just 0, so I'm left with y equals 0. That means that my point is something y. If I want to find the x that matches with that, I'll just go up here. I will take my y equals 0 that I just found and sub that into one of the equations to find the x. Let's have a look at our equations. Which one do you think we're gonna use? Which one looks easier? Right? You can choose either one because the point sits on both lines. I think I'm going to choose equation 1. It looks a little bit easier. So I'm going to go x minus 4 times 0 equals negative 7. And so x minus 0 is negative 7. And that's just x equals negative 7. So therefore, my point of intersection is negative 7, 0. Okay, and that's it. I've done the solution by substitution. And if you want, you can check your answer, right? Remember, we can do a left side, right side check. So you can do the left side, right side check, but make sure that when you do it, you're checking it in both equations. Okay, your solution must make both equations equal. Okay, and that's it. So thanks for watching. Please practice.